Hola clase, vamos a hablar de los procedimientos de la clase. So we're going to talk about our class procedures. And this is very different from class procedures from when we are physically in class. But for now, while we are doing virtual learning, this is what you can expect as our protocol. So my name and email are at the top here. You can always get a hold of me at rlatinnet@bths201.org. I am available from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. daily. I do have to be here at school between 8:30 and 1:30 p.m., but then I'm still available to answer questions through email or Google Hangouts through 3:30. And you can call me either Miss Latinette or Senorita Latinette. So materials that you will need for Spanish class, you're going to need a Chromebook or whatever your personal electronic devices, but Chromebook is going to be the best just because we do use a lot of Google applications such as Google Classroom, etc. And then you will need a notebook and pen or pencil. A folder is going to be optional if you have a printer at home. If you're like me, I know I physically like to have something to write on and take notes on that I'm reading from, so that is up to you, but feel free to always print anything out that I upload to Google Classroom for you and take notes as you wish. So you are going to find your assignments every day by 9 a.m. on Google Classroom. It is your responsibility to check in with Google Classroom every single day. Every announcement and all your assignments will be posted there. Sometimes we will use other applications, which we'll go over in a moment, but it will always be listed for you in Google Classroom. For completion of assignments, every day you must complete the assignments by midnight that day. When for some reason you are unable to complete it on time, either you're sick or there's something not working, it's your responsibility to email me. My email's there again, or send me a Google Hangout on the day of the assignment, not later. Assignments are not group projects, they are to be done individually. So if you are to turn in something that is clearly copied from someone else, it's very easy for us to tell as teachers, especially after having taught for over a decade now. You will get a grade that will be equivalent to 50%. And so that is technically an F. It's not an F so low that you wouldn't be able to bring your grade back up, but there are consequences if we decide to lean on others or copy from others, or if, for example, here number 4 under completion of assignments, if you use Google Translate or another form of translator that results in work that you turn in that is clearly not your own, above your level of Spanish that you have been taught, or it's clear that it doesn't make sense because sometimes our translators don't exactly understand what we're trying to say, that too would be resulting in a 50%. So you may recomplete if necessary, but your work needs to be yours and not someone else's, not a translator's work. So please do your own work at all times. Also, you should be doing your best work, not throwing together something real quick or last minute or half done and turning it in. If you do turn in something with clearly little effort or incomplete, then that will be returned to you for completion. So don't even do it because it's going to come right back to you. Learning applications that we will use, that if you are using your phone or your Google Chromebook, that you will need to have. We, like stated, will use Google Classroom. All of my documents will be in Google Doc form and Google Slides. We use Quizlet often, so make sure you have that app on your phone. And then your username is going to be clearly your name. I shouldn't have to be trying to decipher who you are in Quizlet. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, though. We will be using Flipgrid, which we're going to do actually here shortly. Various games like Gimkit, Kahoot, Quizlet Live, stuff like that. I use Screencastify, which is what I'm on right now, to either videotape myself or just my voice as I'm going over something. I often upload my videos to YouTube for you just so that they are quick to download for you instead of from Google Drive. We will use Voces, the digital textbook that first year used, so if you're familiar with that from last year, we will be using that again. Don't worry about that right now. We're not going to get into it right away. but we will have Google Meets often on Mondays and or Fridays. So you will know about that the day in advance, sometimes even more in advance. But there is a schedule we will adhere to that has been given to us, so I will let you know in advance what times those would be. When it comes to grading, so right now the way we're going to grade is going to be different from the way we will grade if or when we return to class in person, which hopefully we do. So normally they have the categories are weighted as different percentages of your grade because there's certain things such as writing and speaking that are you producing the Spanish versus just reading or listening, in which you are just interpreting the Spanish. So when you're producing your own Spanish, that's a lot more difficult, but it's also a lot more important. So some of these things are going to be weighted on different categories if or when we return to the classroom. However, for now, we are just going to use a regular points system, so nothing will be weighted differently. It'll be completely just out of the points. So that way it's easy for you to figure out, what you need to get on this or that to get a certain grade in the class, because the weighted system makes it a little bit more complicated. So for now, we're going to keep it nice and simple for you until we come back to school in person. And a lot of it's just going to be completion grades for your time and effort, which, when you're putting in that time and effort, you are practicing the language and, and taking the language, getting great input, and that as a result will help your skills. And then when we come back into the classroom physically, then we'll be able to start some real assessments for your skills. For Google Meets, whenever we have our Google Meets, usually once or twice a week, this is very, very important so that we can try to mimic the in-person learning as best as possible and as often as possible. So you are expected to attend unless for some reason there is a conflict that you should be letting me know in advance. If there's a permanent or often a conflict that happens often, you should be letting me know in that Google form, that student info form. But otherwise, if something happens, just something pops up, then again you'll need to email me or send me a Google Hangout if you're sick or there's some kind of conflict. That's always your responsibility to let me know. And then when we do Google Meets, it will be recorded and posted, recorded to YouTube or uploaded to YouTube and shared for you in case you missed it. And then when we do meet, it is expected that you will prepare ahead of time for any questions or concerns to share, that you will join on time, that you will look dressed and not looking away, such as this, not looking at your phone or not distracted by the TV or playing video games or talking to a friend or whoever. I do expect your time and attention for those times that we do our Google Meets. And then when you're not talking, you always want to make sure your microphone is muted so that everyone who is talking, we can hear nice and clear. And if you ever have questions, you can type them in the chat box or unmute yourself to ask me a question. So that is our class procedures and protocol for the moment. While we are doing e-learning, they are subject to change at any time. This whole school year is going to be about flexibility and going with the flow and learning as we go. I will be making modifications as I see fit for your best, for your needs, really, keeping in mind what's going to be best for the class. So thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for the rest of your assignment.